Okay, I am making my video for EDU 526, and the scenario that I'm going to be looking at and talking about is strategies for dealing with the must be right challenging person. Within this scenario, we have someone who is very disgruntled and upset and standing at the office counter with the secretary. The athletic director is on the phone with someone, but hears the disgruntled parent or guardian at the front and hangs up and comes out and asks if they can be of any assistance with this person. As the conversation continues, the angered person continues to say they want answers, no excuses, no cover-ups, and then the athletic director moves them to a more quiet and more conducive area for talking and reasoning. This angered person then begins to shout out explicative language, and the AD acknowledges that they are angry. They begin to get more sarcastic and expressing more and more how upset they are. So the AD recognizes that they're irritated and wants to discuss those frustrations with them. The must be right then uses more explicative language, and the AD poses a question to one of the heated responses from the outraged folk. He asks why they believe the coach is unfair. So the angered individual then begins to say, well, their son has not missed practice, he does his schoolwork, he doesn't cut class, he's been on the team for 4 years. And so the AD then rephrases again what they have said, and the parent or the guardian then looks at him and says, yes, agrees that that is exactly what they said. And all they say when they prompt the child what happens at practice, they say that he's on the scout team and that the coach doesn't say anything to him. So then the AD poses the question or asks for the parent to say what they know about Bobby's skill level as it pertains to his teammates. And the parent says, well, we've sent him, he played on the regular squad in middle school, he's been to summer camps every summer, he's been playing since he was younger. So the AD then says, so what I'm hearing is when he was on the regular team in 8th grade, he was fine, but now he's not playing as a senior. And he said, the angered person says, exactly. The coach isn't fair, and he doesn't recognize talent. So then the AD says, well, what would you like to see happen here? And they scream, play him. Tell me what he needs to get more playing time, at least. And so then the adult facilitator asks, well, have you talked to the coach? And the parent says, talk to him, questioning that. He doesn't talk to the kids. And they said, the AD says, well, we want our coaches to have open lines of communication with players and parents over issues. And so this person says back, yeah, right, very sarcastic. He isn't even approachable. The AD then says, I understand you correctly, there hasn't been any communication to make sure. And the parent says, the coach doesn't talk to anyone. And so the AD says, well, how about if I set up a meeting with you, Bobby, myself, and the coach? And the parent says, what good would that do? The adult says, well, I could ask the coach to bring along his charts and player stats, and we could see how he compares them to others. And the parent says, well, he is a senior. Doesn't that mean something? And so the AD says, well, we really do appreciate his loyalty and hard work, but the coach, I'm sure the coach appreciates the role Bobby plays on his team. And the parent says, yeah, right, then play him. And the AD says, well, I'd be really happy to facilitate. I think the communication is really what's lacking here. From the scenario and just what little bit of experience I have as an athletic director of a middle school, this is a very common talk, a very common problem that we see. Playing time is always an issue. The kids, especially middle school, come from the rec league where they legitimately pay and they get to play. They have to. And then they come to our middle school sports and they think, oh, well, we're paying an athletic fee, so that's technically like that rec league fee, and my kid should also be playing here. Well, that's not the case, because on the middle school level, we're building those fundamentals. And absolutely, we want to have kids playing as much as possible, but we also can't make it unrealistic, because when they get to the JV and the varsity levels, they're not going to always get to play. It's going to be the best 9 on a softball or baseball team, the best 5 on the basketball court. It's just the best 11 on the football defense and offensive lines. But we have to instill in them that, yes, you continue working hard, even if you don't see yourself in the starting role that you have, and you're working your way there. So I think with this scenario, what's important to note is that as the athletic director, you have to make sure, especially with a very upset individual, we want to make sure that we are, A, hearing them correctly. I think repeating and retelling what they're saying is a great way to show we're listening and that we know what they're asking. B, we've got to also make sure that we don't pigeonhole ourselves into an answer and say, well, that's not right, blah, blah, blah. We've got to remain very unbiased at this point, even though we've got to have this coach's support as our forefront. But we also want the parent to know that we are concerned, because the player is absolutely an utmost concern as well. I think C, you want to try and diffuse. The worst thing to happen is to have the parent leave the meeting still as upset as they were when they came in. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes it is. I think by opening that door to communication, sometimes letting them vent and just listening is all you need to do, and that helps. But I think we have to make sure that we really listen and give them that time to talk. I think the suggestion made by the AD in this case to facilitate a meeting is absolutely what needs to happen. And I think even if the parent doesn't push for that, I think the AD should pursue it and bring in the student and the coach and the parent and have them look at those things together. I mean, it's very humbling, and I tell my players all the time that your parents should be your number one fan. They should think that you are the best thing since sliced bread. That's their job. A good parent does that. But a great parent recognizes when their child isn't the star and still continues to lift them up and push them up and keep them positive and doesn't feed into that negative, why am I not playing over so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. They find other ways to get their kid motivated to make sure that they're teaching them and doing what is right by them and by the program. There's so much we can learn from athletics, and there's so many times that we're going to have to deal with these disgruntled, angry, very upset parents, especially over playing time, that we've got to make sure that we listen, we restate what's being said, and that we try and come to some solution. And if at all calls, make sure that we can let the parent leave less angry than what they were. We won't be able to solve them all. It won't work for everything. But I think the communication in this particular scenario, communication is the issue on the coach's side and on the player's side. So communication can really break boundaries for all of us in anything that we do.